Hello and welcome to Ivory Blush Roses. My name is Lisa and today we're working on, I think, seam 19 on the CQtober project, also known as the Autumn Pillow project. So let's go ahead and get going. I'm going to choose a stitch out of my bowl. Let's see what this says. So this one is a buttonhole fan stitch. That should be a fun one, and I think that's a great one for one of these tiny seams. And I'm looking at this and thinking we are overdue for delinting. I need to buy lint rollers and I keep forgetting because we are almost to the end of this. All right, so let's see where we're going to do this. So buttonhole fans, I think this is a good one for one of these really short seams. We have a short one here. Well, this one we're going to try and come around, but that would be a good option. So we have a short one here, a short one here. I think I'm going to work on one of these two seams right here. I'm thinking I'm just going to go right here. I think that will work. So let's go ahead and pick threads. I think we've got our seam. We've got an idea what we're going to do. We've done a couple of these, like this one and this one are very receding seams. Even this one is over here. And we talked about needing to do some brighter color in here. We've got so many seams coming in together here. We're still going to have another one here. And I'd like to use something that is going to be different than what we have around it. And right off the bat, I'm leaning toward this one. But I have to always remember with this that our variegations on this are not quick. We could do two fans off of here, and I like the way it shows up on both of those. And I think we're going to keep it pretty simple. They're just going to be fans. Now I've done it where we can do the fans alternating, or we can do it so it's all on the same side. Now on this one, if we do it on the same side and we do it on this side, then I can probably do 3 on that. So that's a possibility. And I like the way that shows up on there. It pulls out some of the other colors of this fabric. And it's one of those seams that we may not want to do a whole lot of additional stuff to it. So, buttonhole fans, you can either make the full half open fan, or you can make kind of a partial one, and those are better alternating. Which one do I want to do on there? I could come up this way, go over, come over. Could do one going this way, over, and this way. Or do them all on the same side. I'm leaning to all on the same side and doing 3 half wheels here. And when I do circles, it is one of the times that I like to use a template. I have a circle template. I know this is not going to be really easy to see on this. And I have a marking. I think this one is chalk. So there are measurements on here, both in centimeters and in inches. I tend to work in inches because we're in the US, but sometimes centimeters works better, and that one says 6, so we need something that's a 2 centimeter circle. Just trying to mark a couple of marking things because once I get in there, then I know I'm going to be okay. So now these are a little exaggerated at the moment. Boy, you can hardly see that against there. Let's hope that's enough that I can see it to make this happen. So let me get my needle threaded, and I want to get this on the frame as well because that will make it a little easier for you to see. And I'll be back in just a minute. So I've drawn that so it goes over here on this side of the seam. There are a couple of ways you can start it. One is to just start and make a really tiny buttonhole stitch here and then make bigger ones around. And I think you actually get a neater one. The other way is to start with a lazy daisy at the beginning. And somehow I always feel like they never seem to look quite as neat. So we're going to be stitching entirely on this piece of fabric here. I'm stab stitching this again. I'm going to come down right over the end of that seam, but then I'm going to come up literally right next to it, and that's going to be where my catch is. I'm coming around to here, so my center is here, so I look at my spacing here, and that's actually the most important thing, and I want to know where that center is. So here's my center on this one, just on the other side of this. So all these stitches are going to come back to that point. And so I'm going to go down. I will tell you, this has been a stitch I've struggled with, but I've also done a lot of work trying to improve how it goes for me. So we'll see how we do here. I'm hoping for an easier stitching day than I had on that last seam that I ended up having to tear out so many times. So I think we're going to divide each half of the circle into 3 segments, and I pulled that too tight, so I'm just going to go back and loosen it up a little bit, and I'm going to retighten it slowly and carefully, and I'm going to go back down, and this one should be vertical up the center, so this will be the center stitch here. There's that, and so now we know we're going to go do that 3 segments on the other side as well. And I'm kind of trying to look at where I was on the other side and match my placements on that, but always coming back to that center. So there's that one. So that wheel ended up being all in that dark burgundy. And now we're going to come over here. And we're going to find that center, and I'm just eyeballing it. So this might be a really quick one. If I wanted to connect them, I want to go underneath both of those there. So I used the back of my needle. That worked great. And then I'm going to come back to center, and we're going to come up about 1/3 of the way on this side. So I'm going to come up just slightly higher than what I did on that last one. Each side is going to be ever so slightly different. There, and there we've got our change of variegation. This is a pretty quick variation on this thread. And so this one is going to be the one that's straight up vertically. Back to center. And then we're going to be about roughly halfway there. Back to center, and now we're back at our mark there. So I'm really actually quite pleased with how that turned out so far. We have one more to go, and again we're coming in our center, which is going to be right about there. I know it's hard to see the needle on these darker fabrics. I know sometimes even sitting here with all the lights on it, I have a hard time. So in the camera it's even harder to see sometimes. So again, we're coming back up about 1/3 of the way up. Did that one wrong. All right, go back to center, always back to center, and coming up rather than going down. Back to center. This is going to be our vertical stitch. Back to center. Every one of us has a stitch that's our favorite, and the ones that are our least favorites, and the ones that we feel like we don't do as good a job with, and this is definitely one of those that's been that for me. But I've also spent quite a bit of time practicing and working with different variations of it, trying to learn the skill of it. And I feel like this one really shows that that skill has paid off, because I'm pretty happy with those. I did maybe get this one slightly bigger, but I think in the grand scheme of things that works out. What do we want to add to that? I do think we need to add just a little something on top of each one here, but I'm thinking about some straight stitches out here, and actually I think they would be great in green. And I'm looking at this medium green as showing up beautifully on that. I do have that cool green, but we have cool green here, cool green here. Let's use the medium. I think I'll be happier with the medium green. So now we need to come up with something brighter to go here. We think about what we want to do there. This one must have cat hair on it because I pulled that through the fabric and I could just see 6 of them go. We're going out quite a ways there. we're going to bring it back to center from outside because that makes it neater. And I'm going to work side to side. I was thinking I was going to do 5, but I think, my gosh, 3 is good on that. So we're going to go here. I'm going to bring it down inside there, and we're going to try and come out right in there. Again, trying to be generous. Now, I'm not going to do one over here because there's a seam going to be coming up this way, and I don't want to get into that here. I'm thinking let's go right on top. We've got lazy daisies coming in either side here, so I don't want to do that. I think we're just going to do straight stitches. We have not done a lot of these right over here in this area, but I'm going to come out. And then let's see if we can do 5 on this one. So that means we're making that center one and these 2, and then we're going to do 2 more, and that'll give us 5. All right, I like the way that looks. Again, I'm going to come out. I can't see where my needle's coming up, so put my finger there so I can feel it. And we're going to go 1 more on each side. I'm actually really happy with that. I think it balances nice with everything around it. I think we're done with that seam. I could add a French knot in here, or I could go around the outside. I think I like the simplicity of that one. And I don't want to do so many French knots in here that we lose them on this seam visually. So let me turn it over and let's take a couple of quick knots. Let me get it off the frame and I will be back. Here it is. I was stitching it the other direction because I find it easier to stitch these going up rather than down. We've been looking at this thinking we don't want direction on it, and I think it's doing really well with that. That was a perfect stitch to do on a small seam. That was a quick one. I'm really happy with how that one turned out. Thank you so much for watching today. I'm so pleased with this seam, and I'm so grateful that it turned out easy and I didn't have to tear anything out with this seam. What a relief after the last one. I'm really happy with it. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a beautiful day, happy stitching, and I'll see you in the next video.